This is Alexander Paunic, or as they would say in the United States, Alex Paunic. Today, we want to give you some of those pointers and the best practices how to venture inside the United States. How do I behave? How do Americans behave? What should they expect? And how do we put ourselves in the best position to present ourselves, have fun, but also adhere to American business decorum? You know, I was working for a small startup in Denver, doing some demonstrations of the product, but then just a couple of years later, I was part of one of the biggest legendary companies like Intel. My job was always around sales, but you know, when you look at American companies, especially more sophisticated IT and tech companies, when it comes to sales, they have two tracks and two departments. One is direct selling to you know, other companies that need your product or your service, and the other side is what we call channel. And this is where you find partners and distributors and resellers. But when you're trying to penetrate a massive market like US, you better find some strategic partners. You guys come into the meetings with American clients and partners. What I would say is you have to, you know, be really prepared and really understand those companies, what they do. So not only do you have to understand who is the buyer, but you also have to know where the buyer reports, who is their executive, and who actually they have under their team. Who do they report to? And make sure you map out what we call organizational chart, right? So even if they're buying a product, but if I ask you like, hey, that person that you communicate on a regular basis, do you know who they report to? Do you know who reports underneath them? You have to know those things. So that's an organizational chart. So be always prepared. You want to put yourself in a position to win a job, to have a recurring revenue. And in order to do that, you have to remove friction. So the first one is going to be a language barrier. But a lot of times when I notice when the Serbians are speaking English, it's really not speaking English, but it's mostly translating Serbian sentences, you know, with English words. And a lot of time that's going to come out clumsy and not understood by Americans. Americans have a one thing that nobody's going to tell you, and I'm going to break it down to you right now, is they're never going to tell you your English is not good enough. They're never going to tell you, I did not understand what you said. My advice to you is go back to them and make sure that they understood everything, right? What you can do as a business owner, as a founder, you know, I think it would be a great idea to tell your team one day a week to just speak English. I'm of a strong belief that that's going to help you increase your revenue, put you in the best position to win business with your clients. Unfortunately, I see some tremendous ideas in Serbia, some tremendous products, tremendous talented engineering that's not accompanied with the proper English. And that means you're shooting yourself in the foot. You're not putting yourself in the best position to grow your revenue, to grow your companies. Cultural uncertainty, what I mean by that is a lot of times we think that Americans just by default, they understand where Serbia is. And that's not the case. Never leave it to a chance to just assume that your new client, that your new partner just understands where Serbia is. Explain it to him. It's the western part of Eastern Europe. You know, give him a quick geographical lesson. And I think that's very important for them to understand. And then explain it to them that culturally, you know, we have much more similarities than differences. You know, we all love to work hard. You know, we like our families. We like to have a little fun. We like holidays. And then there's those business standards ambiguity, right? Again, you're meeting the client for the first time. You're negotiating. Show them that you understand the same business standards, that you handle the same business standards. You know, if you're talking to an investor, what's a term sheet, right? What is selling? You want to identify key persona. You want to identify their pain, problem, and you want to solve it, right? And in order to do that, I always tell people, what is selling? Well, selling is listening. You got to actively listen. So once you get a project, you're working on a project, right? We all want to make sure that our clients are happy And we want to make sure that our clients are coming back, right? Recurring revenue is the key, whether you're a startup or you're outsourcing company. And best practices during the project, I always tell people over communicate. Another thing is tardiness. You gotta be on time. And actually in US we say if you're on time, you're late, but you want to be 5 or 10 minutes early. Americans really appreciate that. And they say time is money, but they really mean it. I'm seeing, some of the startups are using obviously more internally, they're using Slacks and stuff like that. But business email is still the predominant way that people are communicating. When you write in an email, please make sure you identify the problem, identify the key stakeholders, and identify course of action. And that's it, right? Don't write a long paragraph. Write 2 or 3 bullets, identify the problem, but most importantly, what's the course of action? And then build trust. This is key for America. You have to be honest. And maybe one of the biggest gaps that I see between the cultures is between owning mistakes and not owning mistakes, right? Americans really appreciate when you say, hey, I messed up. I own it. This is on me. But this is what I learned, and it's not going to happen again. Nobody's perfect. Your client is going to expect that you're not perfect. Obviously, they don't want you to make a lot of mistakes. But if you do, please own up to that mistake. Americans are not interested in excuses, blame game, whose fault it is. They're interested in the bottom line. Can you get this thing done or not? Make sure you over communicate. Make sure you get stuff done, right? Get it done for them and build that trust. But now it's time for a little fun, right? There are business gatherings, there's events. How do Americans behave at these entertainment settings? And we want to give you some do's and don'ts, right? So here's some do's, what to do at the business gathering. You want to have fun, right? That's number one thing. You want to be yourself. Yeah, you can mention work, but most of the time, when there's a business gathering, an event, Americans like to have fun. This is your chance to implore your IQ, intelligence, but also emotional intelligence, right? Don't be grumpy. Don't show up at the business gathering grumpy, right? Don't just talk about work. Don't be disrespectful. People don't like gossip, right? So don't do that. Politics is a big thing right now in the United States. It's never a good time to bring politics, especially nowadays. You want to strike a balance between fun, showing who you are, but also be professional. One of the things that Americans do really well, and I actually always like to challenge people, is make a plan when you're going to an event. I always make a plan. There are 2 or 3 people I want to meet. Make sure that that's done. The best way to actually, create value at the event, ask other people, do you want me to introduce you to somebody? Before you know it, that person is going to introduce you to somebody. And, it's really living up to that notion, mixing business and pleasure. Big thing if you want to have a successful event is you want to follow up after the event. Grab those business cards, follow up with people. Remember a couple of fun things about them. I understand that LinkedIn is coming slowly into Europe, into Serbia, but Americans are living on LinkedIn. It's a very popular social media platform. 30 years I've been comparing the cultures, and I can see this world, through both eyes, Serbian and American. I noticed that's people don't live just for entertainment. They want to get stuff done. But if you can get stuff done and be entertained, that's much better than getting stuff done. An American is, at the precipice, 2 companies, right? Similar product. And then number one is they want to get things done. Yeah. But one company is, yes, providing a product and the service that they need. The other one is doing the same. But the other one is also fun to be around, right? And, there's that added value. Humble and humility, you got to know when you say assertive, when it's showtime. Yeah. Now you got to execute, but then you got to find your battle when you can be humble, right?
Nice.
When it's time to close business, when it's time to win business, if you feel you're mistreated, if you're standing up for, what you feel is righteous. I was talking about mistakes, right? Yep. Be humble. Yep. Let's say that's a chance to be humble and show humility. You own a mistake. You know what? I made a mistake here. I'm really sorry about that. And I know this could hurt you, but let me tell you, we'll learn from it and it's not going to happen. That's a chance to be humble. You're not giving up your position, but vulnerability can be your strength. But you just got to know how to pick your battles. And it comes from experience, understanding your audience, understand the situation, location, and all that. But at the end of the day, you're building your brand in the long run, and that's going to pay off in the long run. Glad that you brought up thank yous and pleases and sorries.
Yeah.
It's incredibly important for our audience. If you ever go to a gathering, you're going to be surprised how Americans say that. A lot of thank yous, pleases, and sorries. Please, if you engage with Americans at the gathering or if you travel there, expect that. Just from the high level, I just feel our English is not matching our engineering and innovative power, right? Keep working on your English, right? But also understand U.S. market better. See if the vertical that you're going after in Serbia or in Europe is going to hold up in U.S. or you have to, make some adjustments. And then see what kind of vehicles you can build to sell your product and the service. Can you go direct? How are you going to market it? Or do you also need a partner? Potentially both, right? Selling directly and the market. So that's, just kind of reevaluate, your U.S. strategy for sure. There's definitely things that Americans can learn from, Serbians too. We are direct, and that's a good thing. But you have to almost like want to earn your chance to be direct, right? So you want to be polished enough, right, before that and be direct. That they value that. Every rule is going to be, every situation is going to be different. Every person is different. But I would say, great rapport and knowing the personalities, maybe you can go with being more direct. But if you don't have the rapport, maybe you should dial back a little bit.